Hello, hello, hello. Carlos Samaniego here. First ever Tax Debt Live on Sunday evening, 6 p.m. Pacific time. Super excited to be here for our first ever event. Before we jump in, I wanted to bring up something. I was so excited for this event last night. I actually woke up in the middle of the night freaking out that I had missed my first ever Tax Debt Live for Sunday at 6 p.m., only to realize that Sunday hadn't come yet. It was only Saturday night that I went to bed and woke up Sunday evening. So here we are on time, 6 p.m. And I'm excited to do this. I've been talking about this for quite some time. If you saw my launch, my information, my video just from a couple days ago, I talked about what the goal of this event is. The goal of this is to be able to answer questions live, questions I've gotten throughout the week. If I get your comments here live, then we definitely, I'll try to answer what questions I can answer here. And that's the goal, is just to answer questions. Today's, I have a big topic I wanted to kind of start off with. And the topic is basically IRS refund offsets. What happens when you go file your tax returns and you're waiting for that big refund and that big refund doesn't show up? That is a thing, and it happens quite a bit. Now, what's interesting about that is that most people that already owe the IRS money, they probably already understand what's happened, just because, it's happened in the past to them. They've gotten a refund. They didn't get the refund. They have actually found out that their money was actually kept for their past due taxes. But did you know that they can actually keep your refund for other reasons? And that's what we're going to talk about today. So if you filed your taxes already or about to file and you're expecting a refund, right now what's happening, a lot of people, from what I'm hearing, are getting a little bit bigger refunds this year. So we want to make sure that you get to keep your refund, and that does not happen. And as I mentioned earlier, if you're just jumping on, my name's Carlos Samaniego, enrolled agent. I've been resolving tax debts for over a decade now. And I've seen this scenario, as I said, over and over again, where this happens on a regular basis. And I have some notes here that, believe it or not, the average refund this year is about 14% higher than last year. So let's talk about specifically what happens when you're getting that refund and you don't get your money. As I said earlier, the first things first is that if you owe money back taxes, the IRS can actually keep your refund. But what a lot of people don't realize, if you have other types of debt like back child support, defaulted student loans, or even owe your state, I'm here in the state of California. If you owe the state of California state tax debt, they can actually withhold your refund. So there's a variety of different ways that can actually happen. And normally when that happens, and I'm going to show you this here, what that letter looks like. I actually got a copy of this letter here. Let me kind of share my screen here. Show you what so if you're sitting there, you're excited, you're waiting, you're waiting for that refund to show up, and it doesn't show up. Here's typically the letter that you're going to get. This is a sample from the IRS's website specifically. It's called a CP39 letter, and this is the letter that you're going to get from the IRS, and it basically says that we've applied your refund. So if it's for this year, your 2025 tax year, we've applied that refund to an overpayment of tax that you may have owed. So underneath here, it basically says we applied a $1,041 overpayment of tax. That's a refund from your spouse or former spouse to a 2019 tax return for the amount owed on a 2009 tax return. So again, this is the sample letter. So if that actually happens to you, that's what's going to happen is that, you may have owed money for back taxes, child support, defaulted student loans, state tax debt, and you're going to get this letter, and it's basically going to say, you owed us, you basically owed us some money, and we've taken that money. Now, if you are married, recently married to somebody, and you've never filed taxes, and believe it or not, this is probably not a very common tax question. I haven't heard very many tax preparers ask this question when filing somebody's tax return. And I think they should, especially if they're going to get a refund, or that return is showing that they're going to get a refund, is that, hey, do you happen to owe any other back tax debt from the past? That way they can at least give them a heads up regarding this. And one of the, so obviously we're going to ask both spouses that, you want to double check. Another question you might want to ask, does anybody owe child support? Might be a touchy subject because for obvious reasons, but you want to ask those types of questions. Back, as I mentioned earlier, in student loans, I remember I had a family member in the past, many years ago. It was in that situation that they owed money to a student loan, got married years later, and when they got married years later, there was actually a refund intercept because that person owed back student loans. So that's a big one. So let me double check. We got any comments coming in? No comments coming in. Great. So what exactly is that? I've got some of my notes here. As I said, this is the first time we're doing this. One thing that you really want to double check with people. Oh, that was a question. Somebody had actually sent a question. I filed a joint tax return with my spouse. They have old tax debt, not me. Can the IRS take my half of the refund as well? And this is actually, again, as I said, there's a way of actually protecting yourself in regards to doing this. If you have a spouse that owes money for past due taxes and you don't owe money, actually, this is a perfect example of what happened to me in the past. Is when I got married, I obviously hadn't filed and then eventually owed a bunch of money to the IRS and the state, and eventually had to file tax returns with my spouse. There is a way of protecting your portion of the refund, at least. If your spouse owes money for back tax debt, child support, or anything like that. And what they can actually do, they can actually file what's called an injured spouse form. It's form 8379. And let me go ahead and pull that up. Form 8379. So if you are that spouse that doesn't have the tax debt, but your other spouse does have tax debt, child support, student loans, there's this form right here. It's called Form 8379, an injured spouse form. Now, I get a lot of calls. People ask me, can I file the innocent spouse form? And typically, that's not what they're actually looking for. They're looking for this specific form. It's an injured spouse form. And this injured spouse form will actually protect their portion of their refund that was actually intercepted. And here's a big thing too, and a lot of people don't realize this. Let me try to get back up. There's my mouse. What a lot of people don't realize, oh, there we go. Get a little big here. What a lot of people don't realize, if your refund was actually already intercepted, in other words, you filed your tax return and they took your money for the past due taxes, child support, student loans, whatever it might be, you can actually still file this form with the IRS. If you file that form with to the IRS and get that over to them, it takes about 8 weeks or so, but the IRS can actually get your money back, your portion of the money back. So there is a way of handling this. So definitely talk to your tax preparer in regards to that. So, but here's the thing too. This form is it's not super easy. It's kind of a little bit complicated. So, and if you live in a community property state like California, the IRS is going to split the refund. There's all kinds of extra details on it. I'm not going to kind of try to explain it on this, but this is one of those things that you definitely want to get a tax professional to help you out to protect you. Let's go to the next question of the day. I know if I owe taxes, I know if I owe start this over. I know I owe old taxes. There we go, tongue twister. But I need this refund to survive. Is there anything I can do before they take it? There is, but almost nobody knows about it. It's called an offset bypass refund, OBR. I'll just tell you this: it's possible to get the money back. Talk to a tax professional regarding this. But there's a possibility. Question number 4, what if I have unfiled tax returns? Should I file now and risk losing a refund or wait? This is a question that keeps people frozen, and I pretty much understand why. If you haven't filed in years and maybe you know you're owed a refund, bottom line, here's the thing: you need to file. And I've seen one too many people just in my practice that hired me just recently, actually. Had somebody that came to me, hadn't filed their tax returns almost 10 years. And they're big concern that they were just terrified they were going to owe a lot of money. And by the time we did our triage with them to kind of find out exactly what was going on, I had come to realization that she was actually going to get refunds. She had refunds coming for all 10 years. But here's the problem. The IRS will only give you refunds for the 3 previous years. There's a time limit for you to try to collect on your refund. And she lost out on almost over 6 years of refunds, which was a lot of money for each individual tax year. So what I suggest is just, if you have multiple unfiled tax returns, as many of you guys know, that's actually what I specialize in. What I would highly suggest, just go to this tax debt triage link here. It's called taxdebttriage.com. And if you go to that website, I'm just realizing I might have spelled triage wrong in there. So let me make sure we got this tax debt triage, tax debt triage. Yes, it is spelled incorrectly. That's a boo-boo. Hey, that's what happens when you do this live for the first time. Let's spell this correctly. Here we go, guys. You want to go to taxdebttriage.com. Go to taxdebttriage.com. There you go. Now it's spelled correctly. Go to taxdebttriage.com. Fill that form out. That will tell you, kind of give you an idea of actually what's happening, to give you, and tax debt triage. You'll see what this looks like here. Basically, you fill out this form. It's going to ask you some basic questions. You know, who's coming after you? The IRS, state, not sure. How much money do you owe? Wage garnishments, your filing status. Basically, it asks some basic questions. By answering those basic questions, I can get back to you and at least kind of give you some insights on what is the best way to move forward in getting those filed tax returns. Obviously, you can always call us as well. 909-570-1103. Yes, remember, bottom line, coming back to that question, if you have unfiled tax returns and you're gonna get refunds, you can only get those refunds from the last 3 years. That's very important to understand. You got 3 years to get your refunds. Those were the questions I wanted to bring up. Again, this is the first time ever I'm doing my tax debt live. We're 15 minutes into it. I knew that, depending on how many questions, this show is going to be anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes every Sunday evening at 6. I do see we still have a few viewers throughout the different medias here. If you have any questions, please ask them. Also, big thing here. If you have not gotten my book, let me see if I can show you this book. Oh, that's not going to work. I'll just share the screen of my new book. My new book just came out. It's called Stop Hiding from the IRS. If you want to get a copy of this book, an e-copy of this book, just head on over to escapetheirs.com, and I'm giving this book away for free. It's the free ebook. If you come to the office, I give you the actual physical copy of the book. I guess it doesn't see. Oh, there we go. There's the actual physical copy of the book. That book was just released a couple of weeks ago, officially in paperback. But again, you can get a free copy of the book at escapetheirs.com. Or if you want to head over to Amazon, you can always get a copy of that book. Let's see. I think that's it for the night. Again, first time ever I've done this. I'm super excited to start doing it. It was a little bit on the rough side. I expected that. I expected it to be a little on the rough side. But every Sunday night, I'm just looking forward to coming to you live to kind of to answer questions that I've gotten throughout the week, maybe bring up a topic or two. And if you have any questions you want to ask me, go ahead and you can always email them to me. Post them here on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram, and we will get back to you with those questions on our next episode. With that, Carlos signing out for Sunday evening. God bless our troops out there under fire with all the stuff happening in the world today. But as many of you guys know, 4-generation military family, family members in the Navy, my kids, daughter-in-law in the Navy, my daughter's at the Coast Guard Academy. So just God bless our troops. Talk to you guys later. See you next week.